Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charney. This is another Cumbrian church. This is the Church of St. Lawrence, Kirkland. Now, as the name Kirkland suggests, this is a historic location for a church. Kirk, of course, we're up north. And there's been a church here since probably the 12th century, if not before. The earliest recorded priest is in the 13th century. And the oldest part of the church surviving is the 13th century chancel. But of course, 13th century chancels were often built onto existing 12th century churches. What's happened here is rather odd, because we have a 19th century nave with a 13th century chancel. The nave has just been swept away. I suspect there was a tower and it collapsed. That's often why you get a nave that's a new build and a chancel that isn't. It's an interesting building. As you can see, we've got mostly clear glass, we've got a nice whitewash interior here in the nave, and mostly in the chancel as well. So we'll have a look around, you know the drill. And so of course we start at the west end, because that's where you usually start. There is a nice painting there just of the fells, the countryside here, fellside, and a 19th century font, nothing special. There's a rather fun, you can see here, this great big chest. It doesn't look actually terribly old, it's probably only 17th century, maybe a bit older, but you've got just the one lock, but it does appear to have had staples for two padlocks. Up here we have a memorial to Thomas Salkeld, Lieutenant Colonel of the Honourable East India Company's service, eldest son of the late Mr. Joseph Salkeld, just the peace of the county of Cumberland and Westmoreland, in the year something filled the situation of High Sheriff. So very, you can see he's showing off his who he is, his importance. You've got arms at the top because he's a soldier, and then you've got these very, very simple seating here, very simple pews. You've got, these are, although they now have candles in them, these actually are holders for oil lamps. Very 19th century. Nice pulpit. I do like that pulpit actually. It's a really good round pulpit, that. Big circular piece of pie, of working pie. And here we have Joseph Salkeld of Helm Hill. The anchor is a symbol of hope. There's no indication that he was in the Navy, although of course he might have been, given Helm Hill is the, given the Salkelds are an important family. Nice arch here, very simple 13th century. A reading desk is interesting, because effectively it's two reading desks. There's a vestry door, banner, Jesus was broken that we might be whole, and there's reference to the Lord's Supper there. We have, up in the chancel, again Victorian choir stalls, although now quite obvious that, and here we have a memorial which is completely illegible, but we've got a nice display of arms. That's going to be a soldier of some kind, given the arms and given, that. And then we have, and this is something you would always find historically in an Anglican church, is the commandments, because you were required to display them. So we have, these are Victorian of course, we have here the commandments, the Lord's Prayer and the Creed. East window is an allegorical piece, faith, hope, and of course charity, caritas, Christian love. In the middle, we have here a recumbent effigy believed to have come from the Knights Templars church at Temple Sowerby down the road, when that was suppressed. Nice trefoil-headed piscina, they're always nice. And looking west, we've got this lovely view of this, I mean, it might be a chapel with that interior, because it's not. This lovely 19th century interior, very plain, very simple, still difficult to heat. John Orfer Yates, Esquire of Skerwith Abbey in this parish. So Kirkland was a very big parish. It's since been subdivided. Skirwith now has its own church, which, God willing, will be covered in this series. But you can see mostly it's plain glass, or at least only lightly coloured glass. Here we have Moses and St. Paul, the law and grace. This is to the glory of God in memory of the Reverend Henry Edwards, rector of Banningham, Norfolk, born 1803, died 1898. Winner by his sons, the Reverend Anderson Edwards, vicar of this parish, which of course explains why you've got a Norfolk vicar commemorated right up here in the Cumbrian Fen, in the Cumbrian Fells. There's that pulpit again from the back. It's the sort of thing, I mean, it's a miniature kind of sort of things that you find in a nonconformist chapel. The nonconformist chapel will be bigger, of course, but still it's a nice muscular pulpit. Well, here we are. And this is the view from the pulpit. And as you can see, you've got a nice, let's drop this down a bit, you've got a nice view. There's the cloth on the bookboard. Nice view of everybody in this little church. And by the time, so it must be much more important once than it is now. Today it's a little church off on the margins, really, but back in the day it would have been a big important church, and probably the nave would have been a lot bigger than it is now. So let's head back, and you can see there how that great big Salkeld memorial there, the Salkelds, big important family. Salkeld itself is actually a nearby village. Well, it's actually a nearby parish. There's multiple Salkeld villages. So that's the inside here at St. Lawrence's, Kirkland. Just a list of former incumbents. Of those who minister as priests in this parish, the names of some have perished from the memory of man. Below is recorded a list of those who are remembered by name, and it goes all the way up to 1984. And the earliest is 1294. Adam de Newcastle. And we see there's no evident change in 1662, so there's no ejection, it would appear, here. I mean, we're up here so far away, people probably wouldn't notice. So there we are, that's inside here at St. Lawrence's, Kirkland. So here I am outside at St. Lawrence's, Kirkland. You can see behind me just how chapel-y that church looks, and how 19th century it looks from the West End. You would not think, I mean, you look at that, you think that's a Methodist chapel, really, apart from the bells. But no, this is a medieval parish church. It's just that the front has been replaced. So we'll have a look around the outside and comment as we go. So here we are, the exterior at Kirkland, and you see the setting, the hills beyond, the fells beyond, and it really is a back of beyond kind of feeling here. Old vicarage just over there, and here we have the nave, where sheep may safely graze in this bit of churchyard. But it's this bit of churchyard. We'll walk around. Obviously, we have to watch out for the sheep, and they were there first. And this is the Victorian nave, and we shall look around at the medieval chancel, making very sure not to let the sheep out, because this is how to be incredibly unpopular, is to let the sheep out. And I don't want to be incredibly unpopular. So you're spinning around because I'm closing the gate. There we are. The sheep are in. Vestry door. I don't think they use the vestry door there anymore. They often don't with these cases. There's the shed round the back. You can hear the sheepdog at the farm. I think the sheepdog. And here we see the medieval chancel. You can see these windows here. Pointy windows. I have to be a bit careful. It's a bit muddy here. So I need to be very, very careful with mud, because if I fall over, that's it. And really is it. So just making our way slowly around. Again, you've got here, you can see the medieval stonework, and then you can see the later stonework up above where they've restored the gable. It's a muddy, muddy churchyard. There you can see in the middle of the graveyard, there's the medieval cross. As I said before, referencing these churchyard crosses, they're there largely because you don't have individual gravestones. You might have little stone crosses for the richer people, but generally it'll be, you know, one cross for everybody, and you can just see it there. So we'll get a bit closer to it. But there's the church. There's the east end, chancel, and the nave. The nave looks like there's some recycled stone there, which makes perfect sense. And I suspect that what's happened is it's been reduced in size. I've got no evidence of that, but the cross would have probably had certainly it would have had a cross head. You can see that it's been pared down. Whether it was a wheel type or not, I don't know. Nobody really knows. But there it is, there's the cross. And here, along the side, there's the church. So that is St. Lawrence's here in Kirkland in Cumbria. And so there we have it, St. Lawrence's, Kirkland. A church of two parts, 19th century nave, medieval chancel. And with this churchyard cross there behind me. I think it's behind me. It's a lovely building, and it's a lovely area to visit. Great for walks, particularly when it's a little bit drier than it is today. Although actually it's been fairly good with the weather, can't complain, haven't had torrential rain except when I've been driving. Well, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.